Have you ever stood in a room full of people and felt yourself shrinking under someone's words? Maybe it was a joke at your expense, a comment that cut deeper than it should have. Maybe they made others laugh while you stood there, exposed. It's in moments like these that your pride feels bruised, your confidence shaken. But here's what no one tells you. You don't need to shout to restore your worth. You don't need to explain yourself, prove yourself, or retaliate. True respect isn't won through noise. It's earned through restraint, through presence, through a transformation so powerful it makes them regret ever underestimating you. In this video, we're going to explore what the Stoics would do, not hypothetically, but practically. No fluff, no forced positivity, just quiet, unshakable strength. You'll learn how to rise with dignity, how to respond without reaction, and how to rebuild your presence in a way that commands respect without ever demanding it. If that resonates with you, stay with me, and if you enjoy deep, Stoic-inspired reflections on growth, discipline, and inner power, I share a free newsletter every Sunday, link below. Let's begin. 1. Let your results slap them in the face. There's a kind of disrespect that doesn't just sting, it lingers. It's not about what was said, but how the room shifted when they said it. I was at a small gathering, casual, nothing serious. In conversation, I slipped up something minor, something anyone could have done. But one guy, the loud one, the performer who thrives on ego and cheap laughs, saw an opportunity. He turned my misstep into a punchline. The room laughed, not because it was clever, but because it's easier to join the laughter than to risk being the next target. I stood still, not because I was helpless, but because I was focused. I knew that any reaction would feed him my frustration. My need to explain would only serve his ego, so I gave him nothing, no eye roll, no retort, just a quiet nod, not in agreement with the joke, but with a vow I made in that very moment. You get your laugh now, but I'll take your attention later on my terms. That night, I disappeared. No social media, no explanations. I stopped trying to prove my worth with noise and started building it in silence. I rose before the sun, trained harder, studied deeper, cleaned up every part of my life that had been left on pause. I cut distractions. I cut people. I invested in myself like my self-respect depended on it, because it did. 6 months passed. I wasn't the same man. I was clearer, stronger, sharper. And then it happened. He messaged me, the same one who humiliated me, but this time he wasn't laughing. He was asking for advice, curious about how I had leveled up. And in that moment, I didn't feel spite. I felt stillness. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. My progress already spoke louder than any comeback ever could. That's the Stoic truth no one tells you. Insults are fleeting, but evolution echoes. Don't clap back with noise. Clap back with progress. Don't try to win the moment. Win the year. The person who humiliated you wants attention. Don't feed it. Give them something they never expected: your transformation. Let your discipline embarrass their comfort. Let your consistency contrast their chaos. Let your silence remind them who you've become and who they'll never catch again. You don't need revenge. You need results, the kind that speak when you don't. That's how you rise, not in their eyes, but above them. 2. Publicly ignore them. There are few acts more commanding than treating someone like they no longer exist, especially when they expected to control you with humiliation. Because when someone mocks you in public, it's not just disrespect, it's a performance, a power play. They want a reaction, your anger, your shame, your need to defend yourself. Why? Because your reaction feeds their ego. But here's the Stoic response. Don't react. Don't speak. Don't even look in their direction. Ignore them, not with emotion, but with absolute composure. Let me share a moment I won't forget. There was a guy in my circle, loud, smug, always turning conversations into competitions. One day, in front of others, he made a joke about something deeply personal, something I'd shared in confidence. People laughed. I didn't. I just stared, no words, no expression, no defense. And from that day on, I was done. No more eye contact, no nods, just a quiet void where recognition used to be. Months passed. I focused on myself. I grew mentally, physically, spiritually. The energy around me changed, and people noticed. Then one night, at a gathering, that same guy approached me, smiling. "Hey bro, we good now?" I looked at him, said nothing, and walked right past him like he was air. In that moment, the silence was deafening, not for me, but for him, because I did what he never could. I kept my power. Now let's be clear. Being the bigger person doesn't mean welcoming back those who disrespected you. It means recognizing your value and choosing who no longer gets access to it. You don't owe anyone fake peace to appear mature. True maturity isn't politeness. It's restraint. It's knowing when to withhold your attention as an act of self-respect. Here's why public silence works. It starves their ego, flips the script, and commands the room. People expect noise. You give them poise. No insults, no comebacks, just a clear message: you no longer exist to me. And nothing cuts deeper than that. At the end of the day, respect isn't earned through confrontation. It's earned through clarity, through knowing who's worth your energy and who deserves your indifference. So next time someone disrespects you, don't rise to meet them. Let your silence rise above them, and let the world see the difference between noise and power. 3. Speak once and never again. Say it once with clarity, with calm, and with conviction. Then walk away. Let the words echo where your presence no longer needs to remain. This is a lesson few people understand, but one the Stoics lived by. The more you explain yourself to those who disrespect you, the more power you give away. Because truthfully, they don't want understanding. They want control. They want you chasing their approval, desperate to be seen as right, craving their acceptance after they've already mocked your worth. But when you speak only once without anger, without apology, and then retreat into silence, you do something unforgettable. You shift the energy. You no longer defend your name. You define it. Let me tell you about a moment that taught me this with precision. Years ago, I worked with a man who dressed his ego in charm and hid his insecurity behind sarcasm. In a meeting, he tried to embarrass me, made a slick comment, full of poison, meant to draw laughter at my expense. Everyone paused, eyes on me. The silence begged for a scene. I gave them a sentence: cold, calm, deliberate. If you really believe that, then I've clearly overestimated your character. That was it. I leaned back, folded my arms, and let the discomfort do the rest. He fumbled, laughed nervously, tried to recover, but the room had already heard what it needed to hear. And I never addressed it again, never gave him my energy, never looked back. You see, when you speak once, you make your words matter. You break the rhythm of people who expect drama. You deny them the satisfaction of dragging you into noise. And that stillness you leave behind, it's haunting. It lingers. People forget arguments, but they remember a moment of composed truth. This approach does 3 powerful things. First, it makes your words unforgettable. In a world addicted to noise, One well-placed sentence becomes a spotlight. Second, it signals confidence. You don't explain yourself to people who misuse their first chance to listen. And third, it exposes their insecurity. When you step back, they scramble. When you go quiet, they unravel. Let this be your rule. If someone disrespects you publicly, you don't owe them a second explanation. You owe yourself peace. Say what you mean once, not in defense, but in command. Let your restraint become your message. The world will wonder why you didn't keep talking, and that silence, that's your boundary. That's where your self-respect lives. Weak people chase clarity from the wrong ears. They write long messages, post vague statuses, rally mutual friends for approval. But strong people, they speak once, then they let others wrestle with the weight of what was said. That's not ego, that's dignity. So the next time someone tries to humiliate you, don't bark, don't beg, don't overshare. Stand tall, deliver your truth once, then disappear from the stage they built for their ego. Let them stand there, alone, in the shadow of your silence. Because real strength isn't in how many times you speak. It's in knowing when you've said enough and saying it only once. 4. Disarm with calm wit. Let's make one thing clear when someone tries to humiliate you in front of others. The worst move you can make is to get emotional. That's what they're fishing for. They want to see you flinch, raise your voice, or unravel. Because the moment you lose your center, they win the room. But there's one weapon that flips everything: a calm, deliberate joke. Not the kind that gets a laugh for entertainment, but the kind that exposes a line so subtle it slides beneath their defenses, punctures their ego, and leaves them stunned before they even realize they've been hit. I'll give you a story. I was in a small meeting, 10 people in the room. One guy, loud and overly confident, decided to make a show of me, looked straight at me and said, "Honestly, I'm just not sure you really understand what the client wants." That wasn't a question, it was a slap, and he wanted everyone to laugh, to shift the power in his favor. Younger me might have launched into an explanation or played defense, but not that day. I looked at him, smiled, and said, "You're absolutely right. Let's all slow down to your pace." Then silence, followed by the kind of laughter that's half confused, half impressed. And I didn't add a word, just moved on like I had brushed dust off my shoulder. That was the last time he tried it. Why does this work? Because humor isn't just entertainment, it's strategy. First, it disarms. When someone expects rage and gets a smirk with precision behind it, they lose footing. Second, it shifts the room. Confidence cloaked in calm is magnetic, and when you make disrespect look ridiculous without raising your voice, people notice. Lastly, it leaves a mark. Anger is forgettable, but one clean, unexpected line that stays. People remember it. They retell it. Even the person who took the hit replays it at night. Here's the Stoic principle behind it. Never fight with chaos. Redirect it, master it, dominate it through control. The man who controls his response controls the room, and when you use humor as your blade, you strike without aggression, without begging, without noise. Here are a few lines worth remembering. That's a bold take. Wrong, but bold. You misunderstood me, but I admire your confidence in staying wrong. I'd argue with you, but I like to win. I love how you said that, like it made sense. You don't need to swing hard. You just need to aim with precision, because most people who humiliate others are craving control, and nothing unravels control faster than someone who laughs mid-attack and strikes back with ease. Let's be real. You won't reclaim your dignity by playing soft, over-explaining, or sulking in silence. You earn it by standing up without flinching, delivering a line so clean it echoes, and walking away like you never broke a sweat. In a world obsessed with ego, the ones who wield composure and wit, those are the ones people respect. So next time someone tries to cut you down, don't explode, don't fold, smirk, jab, move on, let the room laugh, while the one who tried to embarrass you quietly bleeds from the inside out. That's how you win with discipline, wit, and the power of restraint. 5. Distance yourself from quiet betrayals. Let's be honest, the first person you look at when you're humiliated is the one who did it, but the second glance, that one should go to the ones who laughed, the ones who looked away, the ones who knew you, but chose silence. Those are the ones who hit the deepest, because disrespect from an enemy is predictable, but betrayal from someone who sat at your table, that cuts differently. That's not just disrespect. It's disloyalty wearing a familiar face. I remember a time in college, a guy who liked being the funny one made a joke about my financial situation, loud enough for the whole room to catch it. That didn't surprise me. He was always chasing attention, but what stung? The 3 people sitting beside me, people I had studied with, shared late-night meals with, defended when others questioned their character. They laughed, not nervously, not accidentally. They laughed like it was easy, and in that moment, I made a silent decision. I didn't call them out. I didn't demand apologies. I just cut them off, quietly, entirely. No more messages, no more catch-ups, no more access. None of them asked why, because they already knew. Here's the truth. No one teaches you. Laughter is never neutral. It's an alignment. It's a silent handshake with the one who throws the insult. And silence, it's complicity. When people laugh while you're being ridiculed, they're showing you who they are, who they really are. Believe them. That's why, if you want to command respect, you don't just confront the obvious enemy. You distance yourself from the subtle traitors, the ones who smirked instead of speaking, the ones who found comfort in your discomfort. 1, because they've shown you where their loyalty lies, and it's not with you. 2, because tolerating them teaches others how low your standards are. And 3, because your presence has value, and when you treat it like it doesn't, no one else will. When you keep these people around, hoping they'll change, you lose pieces of yourself. Slowly, subtly, they chip away at your confidence. They test your limits. They cross your lines again and again. And each time you stay silent, you teach them that betrayal has no cost. So here's the Stoic answer. You don't need drama. You don't need to announce anything. You just stop. Stop explaining. Stop replying. Stop showing up. That's all. Your silence becomes your separation. Your standards become your armor. And people watch. They always watch. They notice who you keep close. If you keep those who laughed, they assume you accept disrespect. But if they see you move with discipline, cutting ties cleanly, without theatrics, they learn not to play with your name. You become the one who demands respect, not through threats, but through quiet decisions. So the next time someone humiliates you, don't just react to them. Look around. Who smiled? Who said nothing? Who avoided eye contact to protect their comfort while you stood alone? Those aren't your people. They're just spectators waiting for another scene. Let them go, not with rage, but with stillness. Because when respect is broken, distance isn't just the answer, it's the cure. And once you create that distance, watch how your peace expands and your circle strengthens. No bitterness, just boundaries. That's Stoic. That's power. 6. Rise so high they regret doubting you. Let's be honest, when someone humiliates you, It's rarely about humor. It's a test, a calculated move to see how much you'll take without pushing back. They're betting that you'll stay silent, that you'll swallow your pride, that you'll let it slide. But here's where the Stoic flips the narrative. You don't respond with emotion. You respond with elevation. No yelling, no public comebacks. Just a quiet, focused transformation that makes them regret ever thinking you were weak. Let me take you back. My first job. My manager humiliated me in front of the whole team, mocked my ideas, cut me off mid-sentence, and with a smirk said, "Let's leave the real decisions to those who actually know what they're doing." The room erupted in laughter, except me. Inside, my chest was burning, but outside, I was still. I gave him nothing, not a word, not a look, but in my mind, I made a promise. You will eat those words, and I won't have to say a single one when it happens. So I vanished, not physically, but emotionally. I stopped trying to prove myself. I stopped chasing approval. I poured everything into growth. I took the hardest clients. I worked late, not to impress, but to improve. I became obsessed with mastery. 3 months later, I closed a deal that saved the company's quarter. And guess who had to hand me the mic in front of the whole team? Him. He didn't look me in the eye, because he knew. He chose the wrong person to embarrass, and now I was undeniable. Here's the Stoic blueprint for making someone regret underestimating you. First, become the version of yourself they said you'd never be. They said you weren't smart. Outlearn them. They mocked your vision. Outbuild them. They laughed at your dreams. Outlive them. Let their insult become the fire that forges the better you, not the scar that weakens you. Second, evolve in silence. Don't announce your comeback. Don't post about your hustle. Move like a shadow. Let your results break the silence louder than any speech ever could. Third, don't block them. Let them watch. Let them scroll through your growth. Let them hear your name mentioned in rooms they can't enter. Make your success the mirror that reflects their mistake every single day. Now, here's where people get uncomfortable. They'll tell you forgive and forget. Fine, forgive for your peace, but never forget, because pain holds memory, and when used correctly, that memory doesn't become bitterness, it becomes fuel. They struck you when you were most vulnerable. Let them see you now, transformed, powerful, unfazed. And no, you don't need to humiliate them in return. You don't need applause. The greatest regret they'll feel is watching you become everything they once tried to reduce. The hard truth. No one regrets picking on the person who stays small, who disappears quietly, but they'll always regret the one who rises with silence, returns unrecognizable, and commands every room not with noise, but with presence. That version of you. It's not loud, it's legendary, and by the time they see it, it's already too late. 7. Stand on your standards. When someone humiliates you in public, they're not just insulting you, they're probing, testing the limits of your self-respect, watching to see how much disrespect you're willing to swallow before you finally push back. And how you respond in that moment doesn't just teach them, it teaches everyone watching. That's where your standards come in. Not the ones you talk about, the ones you enforce, the invisible lines you draw in silence. The ones that say, "This is where I end, cross it, and you're done." I had a friend once, let's call him Rye, the kind of guy who always disguised jabs as jokes. He'd make backhanded comments about my appearance, my family, my relationships, and it always ended the same: relax. I'm just kidding. Until one day, in front of a group, he crossed a private line, made a joke about something I'd told him in confidence. People laughed. I didn't. I looked him in the eye and said, "Rye, that's the last time you'll ever speak to me like that." He laughed, thought I was bluffing. I wasn't. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just disappeared. No texts, no calls, just gone. And you know what happened. The same people who laughed with him started drifting toward me, not because I demanded their respect, but because I showed them what it meant to have it. Here's the reality. Your standards are not soft boundaries. They're hard walls. And if there are no consequences, there are no standards. If someone crosses your line once and you stay quiet, they'll do it again louder. If you don't value your own dignity, neither will anyone else. The truth is, people will test you not to hurt you, but to measure you. They want to know, are you all talk, or do you actually stand on something? If you fold, they learn you're flexible. If you stand tall, they either rise to meet you or fall away on their own. Yes, you will lose people, but you'll gain power. And the ones who remain, they'll speak to you differently, not because you demanded respect, but because your presence left no other option. In a world where everyone is afraid to offend, afraid to stand alone, your silence becomes strength, and your distance becomes discipline. So the next time someone tries to mock you in front of others, don't react. Don't try to explain why they crossed the line. Just make it the last time. Walk away like you're protecting something sacred, because you are. Your standards are the foundation of your identity. Protect them, enforce them, and never lower them just to keep people who never valued them in the first place. Let them laugh, let them mock, let them think they've won. Then let your evolution prove otherwise. You don't need to clap back. You need to rise so quietly, so powerfully, that your very existence becomes a lesson they'll never forget. And when you rise again, it won't be with noise, it'll be with presence. The kind of presence that doesn't explain, doesn't defend, just moves forward so powerfully that the past can't touch you. The next time you speak, it won't be to prove anything. It'll be through your progress, your calm, your quiet evolution. That's how true respect is earned. If this message spoke to something inside you, take a moment to subscribe, because this is just the beginning. In the comments, write silent strength as your quiet vow to never shrink again. Remember, you don't need revenge. You need clarity. You need to become so composed, so focused, that no one ever dares to underestimate you again. Stay grounded, stay steady, and I'll see you in the next chapter.